wait for the thing to stop spinning, and there we go, and we're off. It's Monday night, the 22nd of March. I spent most of my day looking for a vaccine because I can now get one, but unfortunately there's none available yet. And we're here to talk baseball on Monday night with Andy and the crew. Say hello, guys.
Hey, hello, guys.
And Andy's having a little bit. She'll be here in just a moment. I know that's what you guys all come here for. You don't come to see my beautiful face. But I think we're gonna talk about the last minute things you need to know going into the last week of drafting. And the truth is, like, I'm gonna be in a draft next weekend where it's be my only live draft of the year, where like I have to pick in a minute. So all this information has to be right on the tip of your tongues, right? It can't be like it is with slow drafts where you can kind of mull things over 15 minutes. So we're gonna give you that stuff. And in the center square, we have a nice, beautiful blue couch. There, I do have a. Before we get into anything really big, I do have a kind of interesting tidbit. You're there, Mel Pal. So I'll ask you this question: what do you think of Tyler Chatwood?
Just
quick off top of your head.
Yeah, a walk machine.
Right. He's pitched seven. He's pitched 7 innings this spring training. How many walks do you think he's let up?
Probably 0.
0. That is true. He has a .14 WHIP. Now, we don't take a lot from spring training stuff, but sometimes people are working on stuff. That's something that I believe you should watch, because if Tyler Chatwood doesn't walk somebody, if Tyler Chatwood has no walks, he's Clayton Kershaw. He's that good, but he walks a lot of people. But maybe he's just working on not walking people, and maybe there's something there. I'm not saying draft him. I'm just saying that's something you need to be aware of. You know, if he's gone 7 innings without a walk. He has hit 1 batter. He's allowed like 2 base runners, but he's got a .14 WHIP. This is not worth talking great lengths over, but
but Doug, I got one to throw at you.
Sure.
Taylor Rogers, number 5 starter, Miami. He's good. He's looking, how shall I say, dynamic.
I think that both me and Melpel were talking about him last week because we were ahead of the curve. But he's got a great strikeout rate. I do believe that if all is said and done, he has that spot, that he's probably like a 4.20 ERA guy, which is not the end of the world, but the other stuff will be all very good.
I will tell you, might not be this year, but the Marlins will have or do have the 5 best starting pitchers in one rotation in baseball that nobody notices.
I mean, I would say that based on the drafts that I've been in, I think outside of the Dodgers, no team has had 4 guys drafted faster than the Marlins in my leagues.
So people are noticing.
Well, I mean, people like Pablo Lopez a lot, almost too much. He's the one guy that I'm a little down on because he's almost.
Well, he's being too much helium, but
yeah,
I did
too high.
I paid $25 for him on Saturday in an auction.
But those middle 3 guys, Eliezer Hernandez, Sandy Alcantara, who am I missing now? Are all getting drafted, you know, like.
My problem with Eliezer Hernandez might be one of the best ones, but he's not going to pitch enough innings this year. That's my worry. I bought Pablo Sanchez for $25, which is high.
Is that the other Pablo Sanchez?
Pablo Lopez. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Pablo Lopez. Yeah, he's the number 1 guy. Who's the 3rd guy that I'm forgetting?
You got Alcantara. You got Sixto Sanchez.
How can I forget Sixto Sanchez? But yeah, he's going a little higher than I'd like.
They placed him below Lopez in the rotation.
I would imagine. I would do that personally.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you my 3rd. Innings. They're not going to let Sixto Sanchez throw over 140 innings. They're not going to do it.
I mean, they're not going to let a lot of people throw that much.
Right.
No, the one guy that's going to get innings in Miami for sure is Alcantara. He's done it before. But yeah, you got that across the board in a lot of things. I mean, I'm not as down on it as many other people I hear talking. They're saying like worry, because I think there's going to be a good number of pitchers that pitch 170, 180 innings, which is enough for our things. But you're not going to get that kind of bang you used to get out of. You used to be able to pick up a Max Scherzer or someone who pitched 212 innings and get 270 strikeouts, and that would be a super impact to your thing. And now it's like Max Scherzer will probably pitch among the leaders, barring injury, at like 192 or something. But because you only pitch 192 innings, you're only looking at 220 strikeouts. not quite the jump you're getting. It's not so much the innings; it's the strikeouts in my mind that you're worried about.
Max Scherzer is one of the only long-term contracts for a pitcher, which I do not agree with any long-term contracts. Let's make that clear. But he's come as close to earning his long-term contract as any pitcher I can remember.
As a Cub fan, I always like to bring this one up. It's like, I don't know how we could have asked for more out of John Lester. He had a 5-year, $20 million a year contract. Now, at the end of the career, he was merely an innings guy, but he still pitched well in all those things and brought us a World Series. I think that was a good contract. I don't know if 5 counts as long term, but I'll always give it up for John Lester.
John Lester's going to help the Nationals, Doug.
I do. I think we overlooked him last week. Last week there was a question like who's going to help on innings pitched, and John Lester is going to help on innings pitched.
John Lester last year, except for 2 starts against the White Sox, had a 3.5 ERA. He got blasted twice. I think I said this before. He got killed by the White Sox in 2 appearances, and it ruined his season. In a short season, you don't need but 2 bomb outs to have a bad ERA.
No, that's correct.
So I think Lester's going to help the Nationals. That's my opinion.
And it's like it seems like me and Mitch have been hogging this stuff. I know that in the prep for this, we all had things we want to talk about. Malpal, is there something you want to bring up?
Well, I think the big news today is Kirby Yates, right?
Yeah.
I think he kind of admitted that he's not going to pitch anytime soon, and he's coming off he's got an elbow injury. It's muscular, allegedly, in the elbow, and he's coming off elbow surgery, and he's admitted that he's a long ways away from pitching.
The Moonbees had reason to know this, Malpal. They had every reason to know this.
Well, I find it interesting, the Padres, who are aiming to win this year, never made really a significant offer to him.
Thank you. That might be
that tells a lot. I always like looking at reasons why. He was not good last year. He hardly pitched, but who knows what his salary demands were when the Padres decided to go in a different direction. But I think that's interesting. He's got arm problems. He had 1.5 good years. But the guy they're talking about replacing with is Jordan Romano. He's an interesting guy. He was pretty good last year. He's an interesting guy because he was kind of pedestrian in the minor leagues for 3-4 years. Nothing special. And then in 2019, I believe, they turned him into a relief pitcher, and he just turned it on. His strikeout rate increased in the low 20s into over 30, I believe. And last year, even though it was a short season, 2019, 2020, his ground ball ratio just increased, went off the charts, and so did his strikeout rate. And from what I've been reading, his mile per hour on both his slider and his fastball increased 3 miles an hour. He's pretty dominating last year until he got hurt. And I think he broke his finger after Giles went down. And it'd be interesting to see what his ADP goes. I mean, it's in the 350s before today. So, he's got the makeup to me to be like a pretty good closer.
Really?
No, if they didn't sign Yates, I would have targeted Romano as because you like to pick not that he's like a top 8 closer, but he would have been like 12, 13 in a spot where you get a good closer for a cheap price, for a reasonable price, not cheap.
Malpal, let me tell you how dumb I am. On Saturday afternoon, I did a 5x5 auction league, 12 teams. I paid for Melanson and I paid for Pomeranz, only to find out that Pagan may be the closer. But I thought you told me Keone might be the closer.
Yeah, I probably said that, but I deny that now. So,
I mean, you could read a story tomorrow saying someone else is going to be the closer.
Yeah, what Douglas is saying, I think this thing is good. It's not settled.
It's a nut roll. It's a nut roll.
There's
I
three or
think-
four guys. Pomeranz is going to go on the shelf, I believe.
Yeah.
So now you're down to Melanson, Pagan, and Kayla, and the talk is they're going to give Pagan the first shot.
You don't think they're going to start with Melanson? They gave him a lot of money.
They gave him a lot of money. That'd be a mistake in the first place.
I agree it's a mistake. I believe they're going to open with Melanson. That's
It's
my
possible. Opinion. I mean, I don't think anyone
because
knows.
they're going to let him suck, and then they're going to replace him.
Yeah, I guess that's
He
you pay him
could
good money.
suck because he's just working. I haven't watched him every outing. I watched the first 2 or 3. He did not look good.
My two closest friends are both Boston Red Sox fans, much like Andrea here.
Hi.
And
Hi, Andy.
they always tell me about Melanson is that among Red Sox fans, a Melanson is a unit of measurement equal to allowing 6 runs in a relief appearance. These guys hate him. These guys hate him so much they'd rather be sitting across the dinner table from Jeffrey Dahmer than Melanson. So
Red Sox fans?
yeah, Red Sox fans. If you look it up, a Melanson means a Melanson outing is letting up 6 runs in a relief appearance, and that's actually you can look at the Red Sox boards and they actually do use that. I've never.
I don't remember him pitching for Boston, dude.
That's where he got.
He never did.
That's where he first got his chance to lose the closer job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, serious? I don't even I don't remember him
horrible.
pitching.
But
The closer.
He strikes out less than one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, my pal. Closers are a waste of money.
So they only paid him $2 million for this coming season.
That's not a lot. That's journeyman.
Melanson?
Yeah, come in, play mid.
What's Bobby?
I think that it brings up the idea of like, what do you do in a situation where there's multiple closers and you don't know who it is? I mean, the first thing you have to do is choose whether I want to be a part of that or I want to avoid it. But really, it's like you have a choice. You can take the guy with the best talent, or you take the guy that looks like the team likes. And those are the only 2 guys you can pick, right? Everyone else is kind of a joke. And so if the team likes Melanson, he's one of the 2 guys you take in San Diego. And then the idea who's the most talented. And I'll go with what Malpal denied last week. I think Keela is the most talented of their closers.
Yeah. I'll throw, while we're just having fun here, can I throw out a trade that was given to me today? Offer?
Okay.
Sure.
I was offered David Price for Mancini, and I turned it down. I offered him McCutcheon, and he wouldn't take it.
Don't try to get Price right now because I was reading today that Price does not have a spot in the rotation as a guarantee.
He may go into middle relief. Yep, I heard that.
I'm a big fan of Price, but I've heard that too.
I just don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I'm a big fan of Gonsolin and May on that team.
They're terrific. Both of them are outstanding.
And as far as things that have stood out in spring training, you gotta notice what Jimmy Nelson's doing over there too.
He's been great.
With you guys and your Jimmy Nelson. Lenny was trying to tell me about Jimmy Nelson on the show the other day.
No, I mean he's pitching really good.
He's been unhittable, Andy.
Here's the thing. That's fine. He's been unhittable, but look at their rotation, and let's be reasonable here. He is not going to get a spot in the rotation ahead of Gonsolin or May when both of these guys are like.
Can I engage in hyperbole?
I guess.
Justin May might be the best pitcher on the entire squad.
So why would you think that Jimmy Nelson and even David Price?
It's because of the Dodgers.
Do they have a spot? Is he a good starter or is he a better reliever?
No, the Dodgers
will be in the rotation. They can't keep him out. He's too good.
Who?
The Dodgers.
Justin May.
Okay.
The Dodgers just put people on the injured reserve or the DL periodically for no reason. I know people are talking about some teams going to a 6-man rotation. I actually don't believe it for any team other than the Dodgers. They're gonna get through the year pitching 7 starters.
6-man
I don't think so. I don't think so. Bauer is not going for that. I'm sorry.
Bauer's the only guy not going for it, but everyone. I mean, they've done it to Kershaw, who is a better talent than Bauer. They said, "Hey, you gotta pull back a little bit." They did it a couple years ago. They did it with Zach Greinke when he was on their team.
That's true.
The Dodgers mess with their pitchers more than anyone else. Now they probably can't get away with Bauer because if they unless they ask Bauer and he says, "Can you take one time off?" Because that's the kind of person Bauer is. But the truth is, they've been screwing with their pitching staff last year. They screwed their pitchers half the year before that. They did the year before that. They did it before that. There's absolutely no reason. I mean, they held down Maeda's inning pitched. They have a history of doing this.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Depends on who the pitcher is. I mean, Kershaw has started 27 games, 26, 28, and last year he started 10, which is like a normal full season. Last year.
Right, yeah.
But
So-
that was a pullback from what he was prior to that. He was a 30 starter guy. He was like a start every time. They gave him a couple times off.
If you want to draft Jimmy Nelson for your fantasy team, by all means. But I'm just telling you, I'm warning you, it's not going to work out for you if you do it.
I'm not drafting Jimmy Nelson either, but it's partially for the same reason why I'm a little bit more cautious about Price and I'm worried about Consolin and May. It's like right now, if you were to guess who's going to have the most innings out of those 4 pitchers, I'd probably guess Price would, but it's about a 1 in 4 chance for each. Maybe it's a 1 in 5 for Nelson.
I'll buy that.
I think whoever's pitching the best is going to get to be in the rotation, and I think that Gonsolin might be in. I think he was really good in the bullpen last year, so I think that they might stick him there, even though it's not good for his growth at all as a starter, and I think it's very wrong to do that. But Jimmy Nelson, let's look at Jimmy Nelson's history. And where does he pitch? Like in his outing?
The Brewers. He was good one year. Very good.
Yeah, he was a young guy that had
had
momentary flashes of brilliance, had one really good year, and then he's been injured for 2.
Okay, he's been injured for 2, and he looks good. That's great. I think I absolutely agree with you. This spring, he doesn't even have an earned run, so that's good. But I don't know. He hasn't pitched. Last year, he pitched 22 innings. So I just wonder how many innings he could pitch anyway.
I bring it up not to say draft Jimmy Nelson, but to say that he's a cog in that thing that's going to limit the innings of anyone who's not Bauer or Kershaw.
I'm not drafting any of them. I do not. Bauer's too expensive. I like Kershaw. I'll put Kershaw on my team, but Walker Buehler is iffy all the time lately. I just don't trust him for where you have to.
I agree with that. No.
But let's talk about Gallen. Zach Gallen is hurt now.
Elbow soreness.
So I was reading in The Athletic today that March 10th or something, almost 2 weeks ago, he was in the batting cages and he swung at a pitch and he didn't make great contact with the ball. So that hurt his forearm, but he took a couple of days off and then he went out and pitched, right? He had an outing, 3.5 innings he pitched or 3 1/3. And then he said that it only hurt when he was throwing a particular pitch. I think it's his slider, but now it's diagnosed as a forearm soreness. What the hell is that diagnosis? That's
inflammation, and it's a big red flag.
It's very bad.
It's a big red flag.
Inflammation
is not something you want to hear.
Not at all.
You can call it soreness. It's inflammation.
So he's like, well, at least it didn't happen on any of my other pitches. It just happened on that pitch. And I'm thinking, oh God, this is so not good. Like Arizona is so bad this year. Everybody's injured. Cole Calhoun is injured. Like there's so much injury on this team that their pitching is horrible other than Gallen anyway. They weren't going to really compete. But what do you guys think of, are you going to hold off on Zach Gallen? If you have to draft tomorrow, are you putting Gallen on your team?
Everywhere I go, Gallen's been taken or protected as a keeper everywhere.
One good bit of news, Malpal, is that San Diego just announced Dinelson Lamette will make his debut on Wednesday.
Yeah, but how far behind is he? That's
might
the
be
question.
He's behind, but he's been throwing sim games. And so I'm just happy to see him out there throwing. I think Dinelson Lamette is falling down the ADP so much that it gets to the point where it was last year. And I rostered him last year just because I wasn't going to let him go for $10. I have Glass now on my team, you guys. I do not even like Glass now, but I wasn't going to let him go for that price yesterday.
Yeah, Andy, help me. What is a sim game?
It's basically an inter squad game.
Oh,
where they move guys, like he'll pitch 2 or 3 innings and they'll just
do your own teammates. Do your own teammates?
Yeah,
yes. And a lot of times it's minor leaguers, and used to call it the backfield games.
Okay, thanks, Melpa.
I was thinking that it was. I mean, this is going to sound so stupid. Like I hope people aren't even watching this, but I thought it was like, you know how they have those computer simulated golf games where you throw your pitch and it can read like your arm, where your arm is and how fast you're throwing or whatever.
Like when you're on a driving range at a video golf game where you hit the ball and it tells you
exactly
what your velocity is and distance and all that.
Kind of like that. That's what I pictured it as.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
I've seen it, and it's like there are still backfield games. A sim game is where they'll basically have like a catcher, a pitcher for a pitcher, and they'll have one batter, right? And then they'll have a coach behind the pitcher, and the pitcher will go through.
Okay,
the coach will go through and say like, this is your opening batter, all right, and then they'll pitch sequence, and they'll go, all right, the guy's single. You have a man on first. You pitch this way. You know what I mean? Like it's like going through kind of a live bullpen where you're simulating the thought process of a real game.
Right. That's right.
I was looking at the ADPs today and how the risers and fallers, the top risers and the top fallers. And I was wondering about a couple of these because it kind of might just be opening up the door for a good value. And some of these players that have dropped down the ADP, but I don't know why they've dropped so far down. Like Will Smith in Atlanta, the pitcher in Atlanta, Will Smith, he's dropped 83 spots since he's dropped 83 spots just in the last month, and 179 spots since January 1st. But yeah, that's one of them.
Can you go back and look at what Will Smith's ADP was back in like December, for December? Because I think that early on he was like being touted as like the number 7 or number 8 reliever, so he was really high. And I think that the drop is more of a correction to the fact that he was too high considering he didn't actually have the job.
Yeah, he's going right now. He's going 179 overall. In February, he was going 95th overall.
Yeah.
And in January, he was going.
Well, I'm looking at the paper you put out, and I will tell you,
it's ridiculous.
Dusty Baker does not like rookies. And they're already trying out Kyle Tucker in center field because Dusty's not going to – he's going to have a very short leash for Miles Straw. You can see that coming.
Miles Straw. Look, Miles Straw is one on this list that has jumped up. He's gone up on the ADP, and I do not recommend Miles Straw. What is good about Miles Straw? Can anybody tell me anything like great about him?
I think he's a stolen base guy other than that, but people tend to clamor for stolen base guys and they get drafted a little bit higher.
Dusty doesn't like rookies ever.
Well, is he a rookie though? I don't know if he's a rookie.
Kyle Straw is basically a rookie. I don't think he's had enough. I think he could qualify for Rookie of the Year.
I think he's played a little more than that.
Has he played more than
not much more than that? That's 130 at bats.
It's close.
I think he's like in the 200s.
Okay, that's fine.
So, of course, CJ Cron has traveled up the ADP, but guys like Andrew Vaughn, how do you feel about Andrew Vaughn? Yes, I understand that he's going to probably make the team, or they're trying to work out an extension right now, but if not, he'll be up like immediately.
They're going to send him out for 2 weeks to practice his defense at DH.
Maybe, yeah. Did you see that?
I think he is an absolute budding superstar, and I purchased him for $16 on Saturday.
That's pretty good.
I snuck in on him, and Tariq Skuboo, if I said it right, my other big sleeper in the draft this weekend. I'm all over that guy.
Do you know that Andrew Vaughn has not even played above high A?
Don't care.
Do you know that in his entire minor league history, career, he's had
that's the one
5 home runs?
They're going to give him a Lewis Robert extension any day now.
But Lewis Robert, what we know about Lewis Robert is that he steals bases, he hits for power, and he's batting like towards the top of the lineup. So with Andrew Vaughn, what do you expect for home runs like in the next couple seasons?
CBS has shown him with 26 home runs and 75 RBIs as a DH
this year.
That wouldn't shock me.
How they could, but why? What are you basing this information on?
Because the White Sox suits say this guy is a game changer.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hate to engage in all these, epaulets or whatever you call it.
But I just feel like there should be better.
Vaughn is going to be an absolute game changer.
In what way?
Know that, huh?
But what I have a problem with is that when people say that somebody's going to be a game changer, but they don't know how or why, they just say that because the White Sox say he's a generational player. It's like, what are you basing this off of? Because nobody's ever seen it.
Scouting.
But okay,
it's like Ty France. Ty France hit .399.
Michael Taylor was supposed to be like one of the best players in baseball.
I'm going for Michael Taylor this weekend in a draft. Michael Taylor's going to steal 25 bases.
Is it an AL Central only draft?
Remember, I said this on March 22nd. Michael A. Taylor is going to be 2020. Mark it down. And you can hold me to this.
Okay.
And by holding this to you, what do we do?
I won't forget it because we call him Michael Failure in this household.
To me, like there's the big thing I'm watching in spring training almost everywhere is like mediocre talents keeping young guys I want to see play down. And among those is Michael Taylor. Michael A. Cal is Bell.
Doug,
Michael
A. Taylor has never been given a shot.
Except for twice in
play every day. His big weakness is the low outside pitch. If that man can beg off that low outside pitch, I'm telling you, he's going to be good with Kansas City.
Okay. So here's the thing: Andrew Vaughn is good contact hitter, and he's going to get on base for sure. He is absolutely like he makes contact 80% of the
time. He's got power.
I also think the thing that works for him is that they don't really have much other choice for DH. You're
right.
As good as the White Sox are as a starting lineup, they didn't go out and get anybody let Encarnacion go, so he's going to have the chance to do it. Now, the numbers he threw up, 75 RBIs, 26 home runs, aren't out of this world numbers. The question is, what's his batting average that goes along with that?
No, his batting average is Andrew Vaughn, his batting average should be very good. His batting average should be good because he has good plate discipline. But a lot of these youngsters that we're talking about drafting, nobody's really looked at what they're capable of doing. And a lot of them are basically just, they're good on base percentage hitters that aren't going to do much in the way of stolen bases or home runs. And if they're not hitting in the middle of the lineup, and I hardly doubt, I would bet my savings account on the fact that he's not going to hit in the middle of the lineup in Chicago when they have hitters on that squad like Eloy Jimenez, and they're stacked with hitters.
Well, to quote somebody that none of us know very well, a rookie is a rookie is a rookie. Who might that be?
But even when a rookie is not expected to do, what about Pache? He's another one in Atlanta that we talk about all the time.
Not a believer.
Why are you a believer?
I'm not a believer.
Why?
I'm just not.
Malpal.
On Pache, I don't know much about him. I would like to go back to Vaughn real quick.
Okay.
The thing about, I know you're concerned about it. He's only got 5 home runs in the minors. He didn't play in the minors in 2020, which would have been his first year.
Oh yeah, he was down in the in the alternate camp, so we can't even really see those stats.
He was the best hitter in college baseball.
Okay.
At Cal. In the Pac-10, that's probably A-level ball, right?
Okay, yeah.
So would it be crazy for a guy to go from A-ball to the major leagues? It's unusual. So I think he could have the power. I think Douglas said something about batting average is probably his risk, but I think he's going to be protected if he comes, if he starts the year in a stellar lineup in Chicago. So I think I could see the power. I could see a lower average than what people may be projecting.
He doesn't strike out very much, but he hasn't faced major. I don't know what he's facing in the alternate camp. You know what makes me so mad, Douglas? We talked about this last week.
Okay.
We don't even know still about these options. Okay. There's players that don't fucking know if they have options or not. Okay?
Yeah, that's a dog's breakfast, that whole thing.
How are we even supposed to make guesses about who's going
to Vaughn's got to have options.
No, yeah, not Vaughn. There's other players, though, that we were talking about today that I was listening to them talk about with maybe Cedric Mullins or a Baltimore player, but they were, Cedric Mullins is somebody to pay attention to. But that whole thing about not knowing whether or not a player has options is it affects who stays on the team a lot of times after spring training.
We're going to talk about position battles, so we need to talk about Austin Hayes versus Cedric Mullins when we get.
Go ahead, do it now.
Austin Hayes is going to be competitive for center field in Baltimore.
Didn't somebody else get hurt in Baltimore? And I think they're both going to be on there. But they were talking about on the Athletic podcast that he might be batting leadoff, Cedric Mullins.
Really?
If he does bat leadoff,
Well,
Mancini's going to play it first.
Well, in Baltimore, that outfield, well, you got Santander, right, in right field.
Right.
It sure looks like they're 100% with Mountcastle playing every day, either at first, DH, or left.
Yeah.
And so you have
one of those spots.
And you have Mancini at first. So there's 5 guys. I think the wild card in this whole group, and he's the guy that's hurt currently, is DJ Stewart. That guy's a streaky hitter.
Okay.
He's a number 1 draft pick, though, so he's got some pedigree. And
he was a number 1 pick?
Yes.
For them.
Looks like they're at left field is Austin Hayes, center field is Cedric Mullins, and right field is Anthony Santander. So we don't really have any kind of, logjam.
Mountcastle's going to be in left field.
I said, well, where's Austin Hayes going to play?
Austin Hayes and Mullins are battling for center field.
It's got Mountcastle as their DH.
Oh, really?
And Mancini is first.
I don't think you could pay. Look, I've been watching this, and I've been watching Hayes and Mountcastle for a long time. They got 5 guys playing for 4 positions.
But DJ Stewart is hurt now.
DJ Stewart is hurt. That's right. He's the wild card. That guy is a streaky hitter. I'm not saying he's any good. The least talented player in that group is by far Mullins. That guy's got he's got speed.
Yeah, he's one of those guys like Miles Straw that people like because he can run a little.
He's the only guy that's a lefty.
I mean, he's basically in a mixed league. You give him away. He's like a 500 or something like that. So I think out of that group, I think Hayes is the best out of between those 2 and Stewart.
I agree.
But Hayes is oft injured. He's really never put together that year that's been touted of him. He was the number 1 prospect for a while in a lousy minor league system. So I've had Austin Hayes in my dynasty league, kind of hoping he's the next, great guy. I'm tempering my thoughts on him. I mean, I'll be happy if I can get, 15, 260 out of the guy. That's still going to be better than Cedric Mullins.
I agree with that. Opinion. Yeah, I agree.
Well, I don't know about. I'm not going to say that either of them is better than the other. But if you're batting leadoff versus batting 9th in the order, and you do steal bases, and if you can get on base, because yes, he's had bad seasons, and in fact, he's had horrible seasons. But last year he wasn't bad. He got on base at a 315. Okay, he was 271 batting average. He stole 7 bases, which put him on pace for 19 total. And if he's batting leadoff, he's going to get lots more runs. I don't know about Austin Hayes, but Lenny likes him. I always just see his name and keep walking.
I'll take Austin Hayes over Cedric Mullins 8 days of the week.
Well, so Austin Hayes had 4 home runs last year and 2 stolen bases. But before that, I mean, what do you expect out of him? RotoWire has him projected 17 home runs and 4 stolen bases.
I mean, I set my expectations. I think if he goes 15-15, I think that's a really good year for him.
But why is he going to steal bases all of a sudden? Last year he got caught.
He's got some speed skills. He's been hurt. That's the problem with Austin Hayes. He's hurt every single year, including the minors.
Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers, whatever, Brendan Rodgers, but at least
But Hayes' injuries have been like real. I mean, I don't say real injuries, but he's got broken hands and that sort of thing. They're not like muscle pulls and that sort of thing.
like
So,
Jacoby Ellsbury injuries. I'm surprised.
right.
I'm just surprised there's no the Boston Red Sox fans don't have a nickname like an Ellsbury something because he was bad.
Ellsbury, oh my God, I forgot about him. He's probably still being paid by the Yankees.
Exactly, dude.
So-
He probably is.
So to me, in that Baltimore situation, I mean, you just have to price them out, what you project, and then if don't go chasing them. But if they fall to you in the right time, go for it. But I wouldn't expect a whole lot out of that crew.
Okay, what about the fact that our friend in Florida told us that the catcher? Okay, how am I going to put this? He was told by somebody on the Phillies that the closer is going to be Alvarado. Right now they have Hector Neris, who has been, I mean, they've just not been, he just hasn't gotten it done. He's had chances for the last couple years, but it's Hector Neris and Archie Bradley. And
Alvarado's head and shoulders over both of them, Andrea.
I agree with you, but I just don't think people are aware of this tidbit.
He was good with Tampa. I watched that kid he's good.
He was always hurt, though. We didn't get to see.
Well, that's true. But when he's okay, he is tough.
I mean, unhittable. That's how good he's been.
He's good.
So you guys, I think that's a great little secret stash player to get late in drafts. Nobody's drafting him. Nobody. Except for us. Maybe anybody that's listening to this now. But Miles Straw has gone up 91 spots in the ADP. I think that was when they assumed that he was going to bat leadoff, but he's not going to be batting leadoff, I don't think. He hasn't been at all batting leadoff. So
who's going to hit leadoff?
I think they're talking the what's his name, shortstop,
Altuve, right?
Yeah,
Altuve
or Altuve or
Correa.
Correa, Altuve,
Correa, yeah, or Altuve.
Right. They just
Baker's gonna go to his. I mean, that guy wants veterans. He's gonna go to guys he's comfortable with that he can count on. He's not in this to take chances. That's my take. Watching him for 25 years.
That's his history.
So another player, pitcher, TJ Antone, that I was so upset I didn't get yesterday in Tout. I really wanted him because he's a reliever. He's going to be a starter, though, so you can stick him in as a relief pitcher, but he's actually a starter, so you're getting all of the points that come along with the starting pitcher. He's moved up the ADP 104 spots, and he's hurt now. And I don't think he's going to – well, number one, he's been hurt, but it's been kind of like played down or whatever. He's not going to make the beginning of the season, and it's going to be a while. So they have to fill in that number 5 spot. And I think that Lorenzen is going to get a chance to pitch in the number 5 spot, but there's some other choices too. Are any of you guys familiar with the Reds rotation?
Yes.
Mildly.
So we have now Sonny Gray is out still.
So that throws a wrench in the whole thing.
And I thought that's the Sonny Gray injury basically feels like to me that pushes Lorenzen and Antone into the starting rotation, which I don't know. Well, to me, I really was hoping that TJ Antone would remain a relief pitcher because he looked like he could be, Josh Hader-esque, and those guys are really nice for fantasy. Whereas a starter, I think he'll be okay.
He's been, he was excellent this spring so far, but
but he's, like I said, he's never pitched more than 3 innings, and that's the thing. Like in the times when he as a starter, he's got an ERA that's above 4.5. As a reliever, he's lights out. And I would just much rather see him as a reliever.
Isn't he like a kid though? We don't really know yet what he can do.
I'm just saying he has pitched some starting games, but he hasn't done it as well. I just think a few years back, the Reds had the same thing. They had a great pitcher on their team, and they had a choice between making him a relief pitcher or a starter. And we know what happened to Aroldis Chapman as a relief pitcher. Had he been a starter, he would have probably been a pretty good starting pitcher. But realistically speaking, what do you figure? Like a 4.15 ERA, a good number of wins, a lot of strikeouts for sure. I think he's more impactful for me as a fantasy owner as a reliever. Chapman is, and I think that TJ Antone would do that. And what about TJ Antone's parents tempting fate by naming him after Tommy John surgery?
That's true.
What do you mean?
His name is TJ.
Oh, TJ. Okay. So Jonathan India. Now this is a kid, right? This is. I mean, this is what it is looking like because we have. I mean, they're just full of injuries too. They don't want D. Strange Gordon playing shortstop, and that's all they have really as a choice. So they put Eugenio Suarez at shortstop, moved him over from third, put Mike Moustakas at third, which means he'll qualify as a third baseman sooner than later. And Jonathan India, it looks like they're going to be slotting in at second base. Now, Joey Votto is hurt, okay? So I don't know.
He had COVID.
Joey Votto.
He's back in camp today.
Oh, he is? Okay,
yes.
Great. Good. Not that he's going to do much for your team, but they really don't like D. Strange Gordon, but he's been stealing bases. I don't know why they won't give him a chance at shortstop.
Who?
D. Strange Gordon. You know, D. Gordon.
Yeah.
What do you think?
They say his glove isn't very good at shortstop.
Yeah, probably not, dude.
But he came up as a shortstop.
He was a second baseman, right?
I thought
he came as a shortstop with the Dodgers. But he got moved over because he didn't field the position all that well.
Yeah.
Hey, Andrea, can I ask you a question? My brother's in the chat room, but he can't. He's not able to enter data into the chat room. What's he doing wrong?
He can't enter data into the chat room. I see him. Wait, I saw him.
You said something to him. Do you see him in the chat room? Why can't he enter data in the chat room?
At 8:04, I saw him add something in there. Just checking to see if his chat posts are getting through. Thanks, Merrill Hartson. I do see his chat earlier, but that's the last thing he wrote.
But you saw a chat thing from him in the chat room.
I can see his chat. Yeah.
Okay,
absolutely.
all right. That's good. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, I want to help him. I want to make sure he can
hear. He does want to contribute.
Hi, Daniel. Nice to see you. Then that'd be great if he comes around. Maybe tell him to refresh. We've been having trouble, so I'm glad if he could give his input, that would be great because it will help me fix it if there's a problem. George was here, coming in and out. We're doing a best ball draft now. How many more drafts do you guys have?
I got one after that best ball.
Is there a $50 NFBC league? Steve Phillips in Bowden said that, and I went on playnfbc.com, and I didn't see any leagues under 150. Does anybody know if there's a $50 NFBC?
There's something called like a satellite or something that you don't actually win any money, but you win an entry to next year's or something like that?
Yeah, I didn't see it, Doug. I couldn't find it.
There definitely is a league that's $50, and I know that.
The other thing is today would have been the last day to start a 4-hour draft there.
Mm-hmm.
Today?
Oh, everything that you do from here on out, it's got to be like sit down and run.
Slow draft?
No, exact opposite. Fast draft.
It's NFBC 50s. That's what it's called. $50 to get in it. It's NFBC 50. The scoring, I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it works, but there's 12 teams in the leagues.
Okay.
We were talking about Cincinnati, and the one thing about their shortstop position is that their number one ranked prospect is a Cuban defector named Jose Garcia, who's 22 years old. And so they're really looking for a short-term solution, and maybe Jose Garcia comes up by the end of the year. You know, they're not looking for the next answer because the next answer is coming.
I can't believe, I just can't believe how many shortstops, international signings that were this year. Daniel has a points league draft on Thursday. He has the 13th pick out of 14 teams. Hey, Malpal, I saw what you did because Malpal got stuck with the last pick, right?
Yeah, what'd you think? Am I learning or did I fail? Because I don't understand the rosters Douglas told me. So I don't know if that.
I don't really understand either. I just told you what I gleaned from reading the rules.
Hold on a minute. I sent you the point system.
I got the points, but the roster I saw like different.
Yeah, you're drafting 32 players to fill 11 spots.
Right here it shows 4 pitchers. You get 4 pitchers, 1 catcher.
Outfielders.
But this is just at one time. They 2 out 2. You only play 2 outfielders, it looks like. That's It is different, but you get 32 players overall, and the computer just puts together the best combination of points, which I absolutely love. So
I took
Is it
Trevor
done on a
Bauer
daily
and Lucas
basis or a weekly
Giolito.
basis?
you took Trevor Bauer and Lucas Giolito. I like it.
I was shocked that Ronald Acuna was available at 3. I put my thing on auto draft and it picked me that.
You love Acuna.
I like Acuna. I would have been perfectly happy with Soto. Those are the 2 guys that I marked.
I was deciding between Mookie Betts and Soto. I love Soto, but I'm really all about just consistency, right? With Mookie Betts,
How has Soto been inconsistent?
No, he hasn't been inconsistent. He just hasn't had enough. He just doesn't have as many consistent years as Mookie. I think that his ceiling has not been hit yet by any stretch of the word. But I just go with the guy that's done it the longest. And Mike Trout was drafted 4th overall in this draft, but he's clearly not the number 1 according to public consensus at this point, right?
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of draft season, like back in October, there was a little bit of argument between Acuna and Trout, and by the time December rolled around, Trout was just completely out of the mix. It's like somehow this year we decided that in my TAG FBI league, Trout was the 8th pick overall in the first round. 8th pick overall. There's not 7 players better than him. I don't think there's been a year in the history of baseball where there's been 7 players better than Trout.
No, there is not. It's not. No, that's true. It's just not. There's not 7 hitters. There's not 7 anybody better.
Well, that includes the pitchers. A couple guys picked DeGrom and Bieber or whatever, but that's how he fell back to 8. But
in San Diego, we talked about the closer situation. I'm pretty sure that it's going to. I mean, look, now we have a closer situation in Texas, right? With Leclerc out, he's out.
Yep.
He's not going to be back. So then Ian Kennedy and Matt Bush are like going to be probably closer by committee until one of them takes the job from the other guy. That's pretty much what I see happening here.
Kennedy has experience. Bush doesn't.
I think they could be committee for longer. They could be committee for as long as until Leclerc gets back. I remember like about 5 years ago with the Rangers. Maybe it was 4 years ago. They went into the season with Sam Dyson as their pitcher, and everyone thought that he was awesome. He had a 98-mile-an-hour sinker that no one could hit. And then he just could not find the plate for the first month and lost the job. And they just kept cycling through pitchers, for the entire season because they didn't really land on one.
Who's going to open the season as a closer in San Diego?
Melanson is going to start the season as the closer.
Melanson he'll be the closer for the first 3 games, then they'll be replaced because he's so bad.
And I'm just not ready to just totally give up on Melanson because everybody thought he was going to be bad last year. He wasn't. Maybe he was bad last year, but he wasn't good.
If I were to go into the season thinking Melanson was bad for the last 4 years, I would have been right 3 out of 4 of them.
I mean, he's not a great pitcher to begin with. Just
unless they're Greg Maddux, if their strikeout percentage is 18%, they're not a good pitcher. The bets are. I'm not betting on that, but it's all opportunity. It's all opportunity. The guy gets hot a little bit and gains the confidence of the manager. They just keep throwing these guys out there because these managers are creature of habits.
No, somewhere in the offseason, they actually went and they signed Melanson thinking he'd be their closer. And for that reason, I think he's going to get the first shot, but he won't be there long.
Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah. I mean, there's talk here, a lot of talk about Pagan. You don't know, though. They just throw this crap out and just to get, clicks and that from me. But I wouldn't – I'm staying away from the Padres closing situation.
I feel like because I was actually sort of hyping Leclerc a couple times, I need to say something about that. And the part is right. It's like Kennedy's got the experience. Matt Bush is the feel-good story. So far in the spring training, they're both pitching really well. Bush strikes out more than Kennedy. I would guess that they would that the thing that would make the most sense for me, the narrative I could buy, is that the Rangers aren't going to be that good of a team. It would make more sense for them to have Kennedy be their closer because if he closes well, he would have more trade value than Bush would have. But teams don't tend to go down that line as much as I think they ought to. But I think that everybody, when I say like the best cheap closer is Leclerc, I have to say, well, that's obviously not the truth anymore. And I'm probably going to be moving to saying that the guy I want now in that same sort of area is Anthony Bass out of Miami. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
Anthony Bass.
Anthony Bass.
I learned about him just playing Stratomatic because he's such a in Stratomatic, wasn't he really great? He's really good.
His pitch mix is he's another one of those converted starters, but his pitch, what he does really well is that he induces soft contact. He's not a huge strikeout guy, but he is a very good soft contact guy, which is an odd thing out of a closer, but in a stadium like the Marlins, it actually probably work out real well. His only real competition is Jimmy Garcia, who I think is a good pitcher, but has never really closed before. I think that one's pretty straightforward, you know.
And they gave Bass the money, so we're back to that same situation.
Is he a great close? I mean, did we see him really actually as a closer or no?
Toronto last year, he closed.
Yeah,
he was okay. He was okay.
I like Daniel Bard in Colorado because nobody's drafting him, and I did like Richard Rodriguez, but he's so bad. They came out and said in Pittsburgh that they're not naming a closer because that's how bad he is. Okay, this spring. So I thought he was a decent pitcher too. I mean, I really thought he was going to be okay, and then today I read that no, it's not going well for him.
I mean, the fact that we're having we're just tip of the iceberg on these closer situations.
You would take a whole day to talk about.
So that just screams why you don't pick closers.
I still think that I still have a person who drafts. I draft closers, and because I draft closers, I'm not actually hurt by these guys or anything, and I don't believe they get hurt or turn over any greater than anyone else. Last year, how many guys started one game of baseball?
Wait a minute.
How many players started one game of baseball in 60 games last year? How many major league players started one game?
I don't know how many pitchers.
430. No, how many pitchers pitched the ninth inning of a game is literally a third of that.
Right, but you only I understand that, but I don't understand. Like, you need one on your team that is. How many of them got 20? You know, I can't even say 20 saves because doesn't work for the 60-game season. But I would say how many of them saved more than 10 games last year?
How many people won more than 10 games last year?
Last year's an outlier.
They only made 10 starts all year. So
last year is virtually useless. So
let's talk about how many closers saved 30 games in 2019 or even 20 games. I mean,
I would say about 5 closers. Chapman, Hendrick.
But that makes it
I gotta mute myself because I have a battery problem. Hold on.
Okay. Maybe that's good if you want to pick up closers off the waiver wire. If there's that many closers getting saves, like maybe they don't get a whole bunch of saves, but there's a lot more of them getting some saves. So that would tell me that I don't need to spend as much money getting
you just can't afford to punt. I have never believed in punting categories. Yeah, I hear these guys and gals on NFBC and Tout Wars. It's not unusual to see someone just punt categories altogether. If you punt a category, you've got to finish in the top 3 and the last 7. I mean, the last is 5 by 5. You've got to finish in the top 3 and the other 9 categories.
I don't know anybody that punts any categories in Roto, any expert that punts categories.
I've seen people never draft absolutely no closers, and that would be functionally punting to start the season.
Well, because they believe they can get them in fab, but you're going to spend all your fab money chasing closers all year long.
I don't believe in not drafting any closer at all. And I mean, Lenny doesn't really much either. He doesn't like to spend money on closers, but he
gets, it's a difference. He'll get closers towards the end and take a run on a low level closer.
But I hate that idea. I do not think you should.
But it's better than punting. What I'm saying, Andy, it's better than.
I hate punting too.
Lenny's not punting. He just doesn't want to commit. In my auction this weekend, I only have $112 left. I committed 21 to Chapman and 15 to Iglesias, which is ignorant. But there's only about 8. Listen, there are only 8 closers with some relative degree of job security. You can go
Daniel Bard has job security. Daniel Bard. Daniel Bard.
What about Otero?
No.
I think that part of the reason why people don't like closers is because if you play in auctions, they always seem that in order to get a closer that actually is going to work going into the season, you're paying more than they're worth. But that's just the nature of an auction on closers.
I don't believe in spending a lot on closers, but because they were so scarce this year,
they're always scarce.
My position was Chapman and Iglesias will give me competitive advantage if they don't get injured.
I like getting a good close. I mean, I like
between the two of them. Will give me some there's going to be teams in my 15-team league that are essentially not going to have reliable closers. Period.
What I'm saying is Chapman in the last 5 years has gone for around $21. It's not like that's something new.
No, I understand. It's still a lot of money, Doug. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so if you think about in one league, a 12-team league, you have some managers that punt saves or whatever. You say they leave the draft without any saves. So when you think about the overall picture and you say, okay, you get a point, like you get 12 points for finishing top in that category and 11 points and on down the road. Some of the ones at the bottom, they're going to have no saves. They're going to get 1 point. Where do you how many saves do you actually need to compete? And at what point are you saying you don't need that many saves because you can only get so many points in Roto, and that's 12 at the save
position. If you want to finish in the middle, you need about 50 saves.
Okay, so
but if there's how many for sure closers are there?
There's about 30. 7 now, pal. There's
Every
about
team's
7.
going to have one.
There's about 7. Huh?
Every team's going to have a closer, but
there's about 7. Malpal asked a question. I'm trying to answer his question.
Okay, you did. You answered it. You said 7.
Hendricks, Kenley Jansen, probably. Iglesias. Brad Handel saved 20 games. There's not more than a half a dozen, Malpal.
Okay, so you let's say you have 8. Okay, and I'd bet anyone right here of those 8, you're going to end up with 4. That don't have turnover. That's just the way it is. I mean, look at Blake. I mean, Blake Trinan, how much was he going for in 2019?
A lot.
Tons. And Liam Hendrick has now got a $50 million contract. That guy didn't have a save for 8 years. So,
yeah, I question how good he's going to be too, by the way.
Jordan Hicks, the same thing for Jordan Hicks.
Right. So I guess my question is, in my mind, when I'm drafting, I can say, okay, Chapman, Hendricks, because he's making the money in Chicago. Who else would I spend a pick to get the guy that for where they're going? I'm not spending the price on those guys. So then I'm going to the Lenny method, where I'll just bargain shop at the end, because I feel like mathematically I got as good a shot as hitting a couple of those guys at the dart as I do if I pick Will Smith in the 10th round where he's going right now.
I can't really argue with you on that. I really can't. I spent too much. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, no.
Hey, I spent $33 for Joe Musgrove on Saturday.
Oh, that's probably.
I mean, do you really love Raziel and Iglesias? I don't.
I think that he's really solid for where he's at, and he deserves to go where he's going.
They said in Minnesota that Colomé is going to end up the season with more saves than
because he's better than Rogers. He's way better than Rogers. Colomé is one of the most underrated closers in baseball. Just because he doesn't strike people out, everybody's down on him.
No, I'm just saying, what has Rogers done to say that he's not a good pitcher too? That's all I'm saying. I don't know if he's clearly better. Rogers, what has he done in his limited career to say that he's not a good pitcher also?
He is but he's not as good as Colomé, in my humble opinion. Colomé has been a good closer now for 5 years. He's been reliable. He's been as steady as a rock. Yeah. He just doesn't strike people out. But he's he gets ground balls. You're right. Who said Colomé is going to get the job? Somebody.
In that situation, I would take the guy I'd let someone take one of them, and then I'd be interested in the other one, 5 rounds later or whatever.
As a handcuff.
Not as a handcuff, as a primary guy. Just because I'm just playing the risk reward on that. Because that's kind of what you're doing in these things, right?
So what you're saying is, if you take Colomé and Rogers, you're probably going to get 35 to 40 saves between the two of them.
I wouldn't spend the capital to get both of those guys because it's going to take you 2 decent picks to get them. I would let you take Colomé, and then I would probably take Rogers. I mean, there's no guarantee you're going to get them, but assuming you take Colomé, that means Rogers is being viewed as less as a pitcher. I'll take him 3-4 rounds later, or it could be vice versa.
I don't think either of them are going very high in drafts, and I know you guys talked about the Toronto situation before I came on, but I definitely think that Jordan Romano is one to target at this point. So,
I like him. I like him better than all these guys we're talking about, except for the big 3.
Okay.
I also
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that there was who are the next, Josh Hader's the guy that could pitch 100 innings and strike out a lot of people.
Devin
One of the guys I like, or Devin Williams was the next. One of the guys I really like that's out there is on Toronto is Julian Merriweather, and he moves up the list a little bit with this thing. He's not going to be the closer, but he could be that guy that pitches 90 innings in relief, 80 innings in relief with a lot of strikeouts.
I'm glad to hear that Toronto has a future in their pitching department because they've looked pretty. I mean, compared to their offense, it's unbelievable. Like their pitching is so far behind their offense right now.
Did you hear my first tidbit about Toronto pitching?
No.
Which was how many walks does Tyler Chatwood have this year in 7 innings?
Probably 15.
No, he has 0. He has a .14 whip. He's allowed 2 hits and he's hit 1 batter, and that's only guys that are going on base for him. And Chatwood without the walks could be a scary pitcher. Now, who knows if that's going to hold up?
I can't even picture him what he would do without the walks. What would he be like?
I would suggest that you make some time to watch his next start.
I will. What about Fran Reyes? He is hitting.
He got 4 home runs. He was 4th home run today.
Yeah. I mean, he only qualifies as a DH, right? But is he going to play DH only? Because he's not good in the outfield, right?
That's what it sounds like. They got him targeted at DH.
That's for fantasy. Now, what about this? Aaron Nola is going to be ready. What about Austin Nola? What are we doing with this kid? Because
I think we're going to get some news here in the next couple days, if not today, that he was supposed to. The next task for the next assessment of him is if he could grab the handle of a bat, and that would give them but he's not going to be ready for opening.
I mean, they said it was his non-throwing hand, which is really sucks for a catcher.
Yeah,
I'd rather it be his throwing hand.
Right, but I did see that he is catching. He is able to receive.
It's his throwing hand or his catching?
It's his catching hand.
That's a problem for a catcher.
Well, they mentioned that he is receiving. He can't catch. So the next hurdle they said is, can he grip a bat? And that's supposed to happen today or tomorrow. So stay tuned.
I don't like that at all, dude. I don't like it, and I don't like JT Realmuto still out. He's not even behind the. Now what do you guys think that means? I mean, it's hard to decipher between real injuries and just we're just going to let him rest. We're going to be very careful with him, so he's going to be ready. That's what they all want you to believe. But at some point, you have to say to yourself, he would be behind the plate by now because he needs to be warming up too.
Yeah, I think a lot of drafts are going to happen before we know that answer, right? That's the problem. But they're going to tune it up here in another end of this week for sure. Get him ready, but I don't know what you do with him when you draft. Now, I just keep him the same level, which to me is I don't draft catchers high. So doesn't impact my thinking at all. So
Oscar Mercado got sent down.
Right. Yeah. Bad news. Yeah.
They wanted him to be good so bad. They wanted him to have that job so bad. And they're like, this isn't working out. So now what? In Cleveland, we have Rosario, Zimmer, and who else? Josh Naylor.
And Leplo.
How exciting.
Leplo's going to play against lefties for sure. So
okay, we have
where he plays is a different.
Listen to the lefties in this batting order. We have Andres Gimenez, he's a lefty. Jose Ramirez is a switch hitter. Cesar Hernandez, switch hitter. Jake Bauers, lefty. Eddie Rosario, lefty. Bradley Zimmer.
Bauers going to be a starter?
Bradley Zimmer lefty and Naylor lefty.
My guess is that
Everybody-
center fielder is going to be Zimmer against righties and Leplo against lefties.
Man, I'm not a
There's only 2 righties in this lineup, and it's Roberto Perez, the catcher, and Franmil Reyes, the DH. Every other hitter is a lefty.
Hey, Andrea,
Yes.
if you send me the link to the best ball slow draft after we get off, I will join.
It's already started.
Yeah, we already started. Yes. But I'll do another best ball slow. I'll do another one on a different website, and all of my
I am on deck, and you're after me, Andrea. So we're close.
guy's taking forever.
Okay, all right. I thought I hadn't started yet. I thought it needed some spot. Okay.
No, we started it earlier
All right.
today.
Okay, that's fine.
But there is a draft tonight at the NFBC. There's that 51, let's see. I like this slow draft with the 4-hour picks, but seriously, it might be a little too long. I think the 2-hour one might be better. I just get so sick of waiting for people that don't come around to check their teams.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not really the draft's fault. It's that there are some people are jerks.
Oh, it's not the draft's fault at all. And I mean, I'm not going to say that I never
Just
missed
because you have 4 hours doesn't mean you need to take 4 hours.
I just feel like we're probably just a little less patient when it's not our turn.
Yeah.
Hey, can I bring up? There's a great question in chat that I was going to bring up later on Lux from guest Eloise. Segura, Jimenez, Lux, Madrigal, Cronenworth, or Wong? I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay.
My answer that I said Wong.
I'm taking, what Cronenworth is a San Diego guy, right? He's Padre.
There's too many second basemen out there.
Or
I mean, Jimenez is going to be like second base, shortstop, outfield eligible with the steals. That's tempting.
yeah, definitely tempting. Lux is not. I would not choose Lux. Madrigal, he's another guy, dude. That's great for on base percentage, great for batting average. But what's he gonna do? What is Madrigal? You guys tell me.
Nothing. He's not proven anything. Nothing.
I mean, when he hit last year, when he was playing before he was injured, he was constantly getting two hits, 1-2 hits a game.
Yeah.
But they're all singles and doubles, and that's the question on the guy. And he's shown in the past, primarily in college, that he's a stolen base guy. He's got speed, but he didn't really steal a lot of bases yet. So I like Madrigal on the upside of the fact that this is a guy that could. There aren't a lot of stolen base guys that really don't. Well, sorry, put it this way, that help you at average, and he could be that. And theoretically, he could develop a little bit more power. I know that on one of the earlier podcasts, not ours, but another site, they actually put the over-under for Madrigal on home runs for 2021 at 3.5, which I think is crazy low. But that is kind of the drawback on him, is that you're looking at 7 home runs, 8 home runs. You're looking at them kind of as it goes along. So he's directed right now to bat 9th in the order.
Yeah, I'm looking up all these guys that are listed. I'm looking up all the orders, and so far, I will tell you, Madrigal is 9th.
But if you were picking just on talent, I'd
Gene
pick Madrigal.
Segura is 8th. He bats 8th. Okay, then you have Gavin Lux. He's 9th, and then you have Madrigal. He's 9th. And who else? We have Colton Wong. He bats 5th or 6th, so that might be okay. I mean,
Segura's not running anymore. He's gained too much weight.
Is he big now?
Yeah, he was huge last year. He used to steal for 10 to 15 bases.
Go ahead.
So these guys are all mid-round type guys, correct? Is that
yes?
Right.
80?
Some pretty late guys. Some of those.
Yeah, so my approach on this would be managing my categories. So I'd want to look at the rest of my roster. If I had enough speed that I felt, then I would go for greatness. And the greatness guy here is Gavin Lux. This is the guy that has the best talent, probably the highest upside. Whether it happens or not, I don't know.
I'm taking Cronenworth.
If I need the speed, then I'd go probably Jimenez. If I needed just a solid guy, then I'd, any of these guys, I'd probably go with, I think Cronenworth's a good hitter. Madrigal's, if you want to strengthen your average. Wong, Lenny's high on Wong. I think we know what Wong is. He's an average player. Wants some steadiness. So that's how I approach second base, because there's just not really that. To me, it's a category target than more than just picking the necessarily the best player. Because I don't think that they're not great. None of them are great players right now.
Andres Gimenez could be very good too. He can hit home runs. Douglas
He's
is right.
I'd take him above. He'd be my first pick.
Yeah, and then Cronenworth is definitely, with all of the injuries that San Diego is dealing with, he is going to play. He plays multiple positions. I think he qualifies at multiple positions. He is batting like near the top of the lineup. It looks like he bats like right. And sometimes they have him in batting second. I mean, we don't really know for sure the lineups yet, but Andres Gimenez is by far for me. Pick.
I'd go Jimenez and then Lux.
I would go Jimenez in Madrigal for the same reasons that he goes Jimenez and Lux, because I think Madrigal is the most talented of all the players in that group, but it's just not this year.
But we agree on the philosophy, it sounds like.
Lux is going to get power. He's going to hit for power. That's the power guy. And I agree, the category is what you need to be paying attention to at that point in the draft.
What's Lux doing this spring?
Having a good spring. About 400.
Really?
Him and Taylor are identical. It's a weird thing that Taylor and Lux have identical stats this spring. They went for the exact amount in labor, and they're right about the same ADP.
Chris Taylor's one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball.
Agree, 100%. And if you have a choice between him or Lux, and you choose Lux, you're crazy to me. That's crazy. I know I'm probably the crazy one. I just don't.
I'm not arguing with that.
I don't trust.
I wouldn't. Not that you're crazy. No, that Taylor.
He went for $2 yesterday, dude, in tout, where they couldn't believe my eyes.
Taylor gives you the position flexibility too. So
yeah, and that has some value.
So I hope we answered your question there in the chat room, guest.
Yeah, we gave him all sorts of different thinking.
I know. Does that really help anybody? Or?
I think Malpal's right. It's like where he's being drafted, it's based on what you need. And I think that there's a real great chance for the stolen bases out of someone like Jimenez. So that's why.
That's all I'm saying is understand your roster. There's no right or wrong answer with these guys. Is know the rest of your roster when it's time to pick these guys. Because you know when they're going to go.
I was saying this. I found myself because of the weakness. There's a lot of okay guys at second base. Not great, but just fine. I found myself in leagues where I'm drafting a middle infielder that I tend to draft in order: a shortstop, then a shortstop, then a second baseman, and I accept the fact that I'm going to get middle infield type statistics out of my second baseman. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you could draft Brandon Lau, and then you would. I second base is the shallowest.
Yeah.
Position.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, rather than treat middle infielder as your low end of the three, I'll treat second base as the low end of the three and draft like a Lindor early, and then one of the guys that falls in the middle, like, believe it or not, Javi Baez or something.
John Birdie. That's
he's the thing about is that it's like Miami Marlins don't want to play John Birdie for some reason. Now you get a guy who steals bases, they can often still steal you bases. Right now, they're saying that second base. The report out of Miami is that in that second base competition, that the upper hand, number 1 is Jazz Chisholm, number 2 is Isan Diaz, and then number 3 is John Birdie.
No, now, Birdie is a utility guy. Last year he played second base, third base, shortstop, outfield. He plays everywhere, and so he's not going to be like the starting guy. But he played in 40 games last year out of 60,
which was functionally being a starting guy. I mean, that's 2/3 of the season. I don't know if that's going to happen outside of injuries. You can hope it's there, but they want him to be a utility guy that comes in here and there. And the lucky thing is that what you're expecting if John Birdie started and played every game at second base, he'd steal you 35 bases.
He's not going to play,
but he's not going to do that. But he can actually play you 45 games and still steal 22, 25 bases.
What do you think of Jazz Chisholm?
I like those guys, but he's raw.
I don't even want to say what his name sounds like. I don't know why his mother named him that. It's not right.
His name is Jazzrado.
Oh, it's
Jasrado. He's one of those. Somebody a couple years ago went and made a big investment in Bahamian baseball. He's one of those guys from Bahamas.
Oh,
and that's the reason why he's raw, because those guys, a lot of those guys, Jazz Chisholm included, have only been playing baseball for 6 or 8 years.
Can we talk about the Rule 5 guy, Abdi Badu?
Well, I was going to say that Yeah, Jazz Chisholm is a big, strong 5-tool type athlete, much like Akil Badu. Much like another guy I was going to pick up.
Badu is amazing.
I told you that last week. I said, look
Amazing.
at this guy. They don't want him to play.
Is he going to make the squad?
I mean, their choice is make the squad or send him back to Minnesota. And right now, Minnesota would like to have him back.
So I'm gonna do my.
He's been. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I was gonna do my Andrew imitation and say what makes him amazing.
He's got speed. He's got pop, Pal. He's hitting 400. I know it's spring training. I get that. But they're in a lather about him in Detroit.
If you look at the underlying numbers, I said last week, really off the cuff, but he's the fastest guy on their team. He hits the ball the hardest on the team. The truth is, if you look at his spring training stats, his time home to first is 4.03, which is the fastest on his team, and it's right up there with the fastest guys in baseball. He plays center field, and he has his average extra velocity is like 97 miles an hour, which is number 1 on Detroit, and among the things. So he's probably their best fielder, their hardest hitter, and fastest player. So he's the most exciting thing on their field right now.
He is.
Should I be concerned that he hit? And I don't know anything about this guy. I never heard of him until last week. Should I be concerned that he hit 220 in his only season in A-ball?
Yeah. No. Yeah. Yes, you should be concerned.
You should be concerned. Is the thing, but at the same time,
dropped him for a reason.
Yeah.
No. It's he was one of the guys that they didn't want to not cover, but they could only not cover certain people. Occasionally, he was by far the best talent in Rule 5. Like he was a guy like, wow, this is a guy that had he played in the Twins in the minor league would have been a top 100 prospect probably in 2022 or 2023.
Yeah, he's only 22, so I don't think he's going to make the team at all. But I appreciate all the hype. The
thing about it is that he's the best player on the Tigers.
He's fun to watch. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So then, if he doesn't make the team, he probably ends back in the Twins system, right?
Oh wait, is that we don't know for sure?
That's how Rule 5 works.
That's how Rule 5 works.
They can
either send him out or they can negotiate a trade for him.
Hold on a minute.
They can say instead of sending him, they can send his.
He's not even old enough to be a free agent yet. I don't understand how he's a Rule 5.
He's Rule 5.
How?
He's
I'm
Rule 5.
just telling you what I've heard on the games.
Yeah, he was the number 2 pick in the Rule 5 draft back in December. And I did a show on the Rule 5s, and I pointed out 2 guys that I kind of thought Akil Badu. I was shocked he was in there because he's so talented, though he is raw and young. And the other guy was that Brent DeGoyce of the Rangers, who will probably be important too somewhere down the line.
I guess I can't remember how Rule 5 works because it just is odd to me that a guy this young is a Rule 5.
Well, it's because he was signed out of high school, so he's actually put in the time in the minors. It has something to do with that. He went to when I was living in Georgia. He went to high school in Conyers, and he was signed by the University of Kentucky, but he skipped and took the money from the Tigers.
Okay.
But these Rule 5 guys, they typically they're not going to start the season.
Occasionally you get that happen. It's like the person everyone likes on the Tigers is Victor Reyes, and Victor Reyes is a Rule 5 guy. Odell Herrera might be the center fielder on the Phillies, and he was a Rule 5 pickup.
Yeah, did they play immediately? That's my question.
Odell did. Victor Reyes started as a 4th outfielder.
Akil Badu is hitting 357 with 4 home runs and 9 runs batted in, 2 stolen bases, and a 1.357 OP.
And here's the real thing: is like how many walks, how many strikeouts? Because that's the improvement.
Well, I'm just looking at what's showing, what I've got in my thing here.
Oh, going into today's game, he had 8 walks, and his strikeouts was less than that, but not by much. I think it was 7, 8.
Okay,
so he's improved in those areas that you'd hope he'd improve in. Is he a guarantee? No, but you're talking about a 400th pick, and I'd much rather take someone like that than someone who's relatively.
Would you take Badu or Rex Grossman? I would take Badu.
Yeah, I would take Badu, but mostly because of the price difference.
Grossman, you take him in a mixed league for one of your 5 outfielders, or just an AL?
No, I'm doing a reserve draft. I would pick him up in a fab bid. Is what I'm going to do.
So you got a reserve spots. Okay, well, yeah.
I'm just going to take a flyer, pal. I can cut him.
But I think it goes well toward. I want to talk about a guy who looks a lot like Al Badu because he was on your list. Was Anthony Alford? These are
Right.
those really athletic guys. He's a converted football player who is very fast. I've seen someone to play center field. I know you put in there that Brian Goodwin was one of the guys that was there, but that guy's been playing horribly. And I think that Justin Fowler is actually higher on the list than Goodwin. And last year, Alford met with a pitching coach named Rick Eckstein, and when they signed him, they said, "We know what you're doing wrong." They could kind of go, "We see people getting mistreated this way, like being taught the wrong things," and they've adjusted his swing. Last year, I'm not sure what the numbers are. If someone can look them up, but he did something like hit 4 home runs and stole 5 stolen bases, some small amount, showing that there's something there. He's in the same sort of vein. He's an exciting player to watch, and he's certainly at the edge of his career. Like he's got to make it work here.
I'm not familiar with him, but I'm curious. I'm very listening intently.
I was on George's show, in the chat room, and I made the joke that a while back that Akil Badu is the poor man's Anthony Alford, but they are very similar looking players.
You could be a poor man's Anthony Alford.
That's not much, man.
That's getting low.
Well, no, there's these guys that I love, like Jazz Chisholm, just totally right with athletic ability. I can't quit Lewis Brinson. He's another one of those guys. It's like I love those guys. But
I will tell you one more story. Reliable sources. The Nationals were offered Yelich 1-up for Victor Robles and declined.
Really?
Hello. Goodbye.
Really? Okay.
See you later.
I like Robles.
Robles is a bust.
No, he's not. Well,
He's a bust. B-U-S-T.
I just think the expectations were so high for him, but I think he's a professional center fielder who gets the job done.
Well,
I'm not ready to call him a bust, but this is an important year for him for sure.
Yeah, it is an important year for him. But he worked really hard this offseason because he tried to be a home run hitter when he's not a home run guy. So he had that great season, and then last year he came to camp.
I don't think he had a great season. I don't think he's ever. Why do you say it's great? It was very mediocre numbers he put up in 2019.
Let me look at it.
Huh?
Let me look at it.
It was nothing great about. He was acceptable. He was a league average center fielder. Nothing. He was a rich man, Jackie Bradley.
He stole 28 bases and hit 17 home runs.
17.
That's nice.
Robles?
With 86 runs scored.
No, scored. Okay.
86 runs, 17 home runs, and 28 stolen bases.
It's pretty good.
In 2019. And last year, he was not good at all. He came to camp. He was like 25 pounds heavier with more muscle. He bulked up the off season. He lifted a bunch of weights, and really his talent is in his speed. So he's been working with the hitting coach, and they've been trying to get him back on track, but he's never been good at hitting when there's 2 strikes on him.
And what is he, 25?
He's young. He's like 23, dude. He's 23.
You call him I call him bust after like 26, and they've had 3 bad years.
But we'll see.
It is early.
I think it's an important year for him. I think that's right.
Definitely. He did steal 28 bases. You're right, and he did score 86 runs.
But you're a Washington Nationals fan, so I know. I had to question myself because I'm like, he knows the Nationals. I better.
So Mitch likes Michael Taylor, but he doesn't like Victor Robles.
Yeah. And I can't even believe it.
You got me. You caught me.
I cannot believe you like Michael Taylor after all the disappointments. Like I told one of our friends, a listener of the podcast, Lenny's podcast, his name is, it's Calronis Cyclonus, that is always in the chat room every day. I told him, or his brother or his cousin, I told his cousin to trade for Michael Taylor. This was like 2017. I told him to trade Tommy Pham, dude, for Michael Taylor and a catcher or something like that. And you've got to be kidding me. He did not even come close to winning that league. I think it was a keeper league too. So I felt so horrible that I told him to take Michael Taylor, who has hit fine in the minor leagues, but he can't hit when he gets to the majors. What team is he on now? I don't even know what team he's
He's
on.
He's Royals.
Malpal, I'd take Robles over Taylor if it make you happy.
Okay.
That's good, dude. I'm glad you're gonna leave this place.
This isn't that close, Malpal. I agree with you.
You're gonna leave this place.
Despite my
Smarter.
histrionics, huh?
You're gonna be smarter after this than you were before this. Now.
I've never been smart in my life.
Yes.
I wanted to correct what I said about
The only
Anthony.
thing I was smart about is marrying my wife that I've been married to for 54 years. That's the only smart thing I've done.
Well, that's a big deal. So that's good.
Last year, Alford had 2 home runs and 3 stolen bases in 30 at bats at the end of the season with the Pirates. That's a pretty nice little small sample, but it's pointing in the right direction with the new.
Do you think he's got a serious chance of winning the starting gig?
I think he got it won. I think he's got it won.
You
Okay.
do? Well, yeah, that was on the list.
How many steals, Doug, will he get?
Well, that's the thing that's really intoxicating about him is that he could steal. Depending on how much they run, he could steal 30. He's got that kind of speed.
Really?
No way, dude. No, I don't.
He's got that kind of speed. He's a 70 speed guy, and that's literally what his career up until last year was. He's going to steal a lot of bases,
Okay.
but he just can't hit the ball.
Okay, he's been in the major leagues 4 years in a row. He's been in the major leagues. He's
How many
not,
at bats total? Has he had a season's worth of at bats?
not at the major league level because
Right.
he can't hit higher than 170. So I don't know. Yes, last year he hit 214. I just wonder because I definitely see that he has some speed potential. He did steal 24 bases in 2019 between AAA and the majors. But he hits like 300 in the minors, and then when he gets to the majors, he hits 120. So either
when there's a physical change, I'm going to give that something to watch. I'm not saying go draft the guy, but I'm saying like that is a guy that has the body, the capacity to be good, has been good in the past in other leagues, college, whatever. But if he gets the right instruction, he could do something. And based on the little that we saw last year and when he's doing the spring training, there's reason to hope for the guy.
I don't
and
hope for any
the
of these.
guys that are going to play center field on that team are really compared to what based on what he's doing in the minor leagues, he's Willie Mays compared to them. There's nothing else on that team doing anything that could play center field.
He's listed as their starting center fielder, and at RotoWire, he's listed on the depth charts.
Because Brian Goodwin, who they brought in, he's hitting like .088 or something.
I think they sent him down.
He's got more strikeouts than at bats somehow.
I think they sent Brian Goodwin down.
That's what I'm saying. Now Fowler will probably keep because
Maybe
he's
not.
still got a prospect pedigree, but it's like
He's
it's a
30.
fact.
Brian Goodwin is 30 years old, dude.
Yeah.
What the hell are they going to do with this guy? He can't hit either. They got to get rid of this trash because they have a good young team. Or no, they don't. This is Pittsburgh we're talking about. For some reason,
we're talking about.
I got them confused with Detroit. Detroit does have a good
Detroit's also trash.
Right now they are, but look at Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh Park. It's just so sad that they're horrible. And not just hitting wise, but every pitcher that goes to Pittsburgh is not good until they leave Pittsburgh and then they're like much better, dude. I don't know. I feel like
have you watched Chris Archer's stats this spring?
no, dude.
No, I haven't seen it. Tell us the story.
Yes, please.
He's pitching well.
Oh, he is.
How bad is it? Pittsburgh gives up Tyler Glasnow and Boston Meadows, then turns around and gets rid of Archer, and he goes right back to Tampa, and they're left holding a tea bag.
Wait, didn't Garrett Cole start in Pittsburgh too?
Garrett Cole's in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
And Jamison Tyon was there forever.
Yep.
Poor guy.
Hey, since you mentioned Tyon, are any of you ready to roll the dice on this kid?
I'll tell you that Kluber and Tyon both have creeped up the draft position order.
Aren't they huge risks, both of them?
Well,
Kluber came out and pitched one inning last year, and he was gone.
because he's a Yankee, dude. Because of the fact that they're Yankees.
I mean, to me, the difference between Kluber and Tyon is that in some point in his career, Kluber has pitched 150 innings, whereas Tyon, as far as I know, hasn't pitched 200 innings ever.
Cy Young winner twice.
Kluber is a much higher thing. There's a reason to gamble on that guy, and the fact is that the upper level for Kluber is he could be the second or third best pitcher in baseball. It's not likely, but it is where it is. The upper level for Tyon is that he pitches with a 3.88 ERA, and maybe he's a comeback player of the year.
That's not true.
You said that last week, and you were right, Doug. You were absolutely right.
How is he right? A 3.88 ERA. That's high
what Doug is saying is the ceiling for Kluber, if he comes back to anything close to his historical performance, is many times higher than Tyon.
He's 35. He's 35.
A lot of the best pitchers are old. If Sale or Verlander were healthy, we'd be picking him in the first 2 rounds.
You're not in a Bumgarner?
No. Because
Malpal's all in on Bumgarner.
No, he's not. No, he's not.
I am not on Bumgarner, but Tyon. I mean, I haven't sat down and.
He did pitch 191 innings in 2018. He had a pretty decent year that year.
He's an excellent pitcher.
Bumgarner.
So I'll say Tyon did.
Yeah, I draft Tyon as plan on a 4 ERA and a maybe 9-10 wins and 120 innings, and draft him there. That's
I would not draft him at a 4. I don't know. I just think he's a better pitcher than that, but who knows? Being in Yankee Stadium.
Well, that's where I would draft him though, because he's got.
Yeah, you want to be conservative on your drafting. Yeah.
Do you
that's
draft?
What I'm saying.
Yeah. Just try to avoid drafting 4 ERAs at all. Try that.
4 ERA is not that bad.
Who am I going to pick then?
Yeah. Last year in my Roto League, I think there were 3 teams that had, of the teams playing against me, there were 3 teams that were under 4 on the ERA.
Yeah, I understand that it's hard to get that, but I do not draft. Seriously.
If you got to get 1,200 innings, you're going to wind up having I usually shoot for 375 as a team ERA, and I fall short of that and do fairly well.
What's his ADP?
Tyon?
I could tell you what it's doing today.
It's probably 165 or 200.
I don't know.
Between 165 and 200. I don't think he's that high.
But he's the kind of guy, we're in this draft and hold league. He's the kind of guy that I would draft higher and draft and hold, because he's going to have some great outings and some great weeks. And you don't have to go through the bad ones. That's one of the differences, I think, philosophically, although I'm not sure. This is my first draft and hold league.
He's moved up but not that much. He's still getting drafted 188 overall, and Kluber.
That's what I thought, yeah. Hey,
Kluber is at 166 overall. Think of that. Think of what round that is. That's I'm sorry, I'm not drafting
11
him.
or 12. You wouldn't take Tyon in the 12th round?
No, and I wouldn't take Kluber in the.
I would take Kluber there, and I have.
Well,
you take Tyon or Brad Keller.
Tyon is being drafted 188th overall, so that's round 16.
Singer over Keller, don't you think, Malpal?
But Mike Soroka is being drafted 182, and Marco Gonzalez is being drafted 180, and I would take him every day of the week over.
I would take. Marco Gonzalez is a guy he's fine. And the truth is, he's all downside, because the bulk of the reason why he's had the good seasons he has is because of wins, and wins are the hardest to predict. And if he went from 18 wins, or whatever wins he had last year, but he had 18 2 years ago, to something normal for a bad team 11, he falls 100 spots in the draft thing.
So Soroka is the poor man's Kyle Hendricks.
Marco Gonzalez, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, Marco Gonzalez is
he had good peripherals, Doug.
His ranking has been driven by the fact that he wins games, which still can be true. That's great, but
he had pretty good peripherals, Doug.
No, he's not even 8 per 9 on strikeouts.
He hasn't had a 4 ERA since 2018, and then that was only 4 even. So, the last 3 seasons, he's maintained a pretty good ERA, and it keeps getting better. And
he's not a big strikeout guy. You're right about that.
He's not a horrible strikeout guy, but he's not a great strikeout guy. That's true. But I don't think he gets drafted because of wins. I think he gets drafted because of innings that he can pitch.
I think people are drafting because of innings, but I'm saying that when people look at what he's done in the past, his high end of year ranking has been driven a lot by the fact that he wins games. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. But I would take him over Paxton right now.
It really comes down to where you're looking at, because those pitchers are all kind of the same thing. The Hendricks, though he's the best of the bunch. You have Hendricks, Keller, Hwang and Kim, these guys that don't strike out a lot. Gonzalez and that. The question is where you are, and the truth is, you don't want a team full of Corey Klubers. You don't want a team full of guys that are high risk, high reward. if you need some balance, then you go, you pick those guys up.
What do you think of Singer?
I actually like. I think he's the. Well, I don't know if he's the most talented pitcher on the Royals, but I don't know if the most talented pitcher on the Royals is actually on their team yet because they have a lot of guys in their minors, like Jackson Coar and Chris Bubich. But anyway, the thing that worries me about him is that he is the guy that's the real young guy that they're going to protect, and so I would take Keller over Singer because Keller's going to pitch 145 innings plus, and Singer is probably going to be limited somewhere down the line.
All right, that makes.
So on straight talent, Singer is the more talented. Though I do like Brad Keller's a guy that's come up. He actually got a couple of votes for Rookie of the Year, and every year that he's pitched, he's gotten a little bit better. And I give him credit for that, and I like him, and I've been meaning to draft him in certain leagues, and it just never got around to it. The leagues that I draft are either really, really deep, and someone gets ahead of me, or they're so shallow that we don't really get to. We don't really, like I play in a 12-team, 23-round draft, and you just don't draft that deep on pitching.
Other than the fact he's pitching for a horrible team, what do you think about John Maynes?
I've liked John Maynes for years. I think that a couple of years ago, I kept saying he's got that his changeup was one of the best pitches in baseball going into last year, and then last year he found 3 or 4 miles an hour in his fastball. If he wasn't on the Baltimore Orioles, people would be talking about him as like a top 20 pitcher. Being on the Baltimore Orioles with the crappy park that he's in and playing the Yankees and playing the Blue Jays and the Red Sox, that's probably gonna hit his ERA by about 0.3, 0.4. So when he finishes with a 0.8388 ERA, he could have been a 3.44 ERA if he was with the Astros or the Twins. And he's a good pitcher. He's the best pitcher on that team, and he's been the best pitcher for a few years. Great changeup, and now that his fastball has gotten better, it's a guy with 2 great pitches. But then again, it's kind of strange. It's like this year has been the year where everyone goes, you got to draft pitching. And in order to fill in the amount of spaces you need to speak the gospel of pitching, you have to go pretty deep into the pitching thing. And so a lot of these guys, if you use your phrase, are getting more helium than I think they're worth. I'm amazed how many times I read people or hear people who like John Maynes more than I do, which I thought was an impossibility.
I paid $1.
2 years ago, I was on an island.
I paid $1 for him on Saturday in a draft.
He's going to get innings for
He's
you.
worth $1.
I wish he was a number 5 starter instead of a number 1 starter. And I would go ahead.
Last night I compared him to Eric Bedard, who was miserable with the Orioles, and he went out to Seattle, and he was actually fairly dominant for 2 years.
As a closer.
Who's that?
As a starter.
Who?
Eric Bedard.
He went from the closer to a starter, right? Didn't he? I can't remember. I remember him though.
He was like the guy that you would watch him on the Orioles, and he'd have like a 4.8 ERA, but he'd have like a 1 hitter one time or something like that, or a game where he struck out 14. But when he went to Seattle, he actually was very good. Now he wound up having injury problems, so he never had more than like 18 decisions. But I think that means is that guy that it's like that's just a tough spot to pitch. That place is built to insult the honor of Jim Palmer.
I have been to every baseball park in Major League Baseball except for the new Globe Life. And I can tell you Camden Yards is as nice as any ballpark in the country.
It really is. I love it. They have the hotel right there.
Huh?
That hotel that they have right next door that you can look outside and see the game from
the Hilton? Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah,
I've never been to that park, but I went to I went on many occasions to like Atlanta's Turner Field, which was the same construction company, the same designers, right. And I despise that park. I thought it just felt completely artificial.
Which one's this?
Turner Field. They don't play there anymore. They moved.
No, Georgia State University is playing there. Yeah.
But it was the same architects, the same thing. They wanted.
Yeah, no, it's the same company that did the Nationals Park, I think.
And I thought I like their park before more than that, and their park before the Atlanta Fulton County Coliseum was one of those cookie cutter parks, But it felt like this is the Braves field, whereas this felt like you're at a carnival, and in the middle of it, here's a baseball game.
The Nationals Park is a nice park, but they only. What's up with the lack of entrances and exits? Like
there's no parking either. It's $60 to park. It costs you as much to park as to go to the game.
We've got to ride the train, dude. That's what the train is for. It's right next door to the train station, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's up the road, but
Right.
there's no hotels around National Park either. It's like kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
There's a lot of hotels there now. It's been really developed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm good. Unless you guys have more to talk about.
Let me see, Mike.
No, I got to take off, so I enjoyed it. I always learn
Thank you,
something.
Well, thank you, Doug.
Well, yeah, the only thing that I didn't get to was Nico Horner, who I like.
Go ahead. Okay, Nico.
I like
That's really
Nico
fair.
Horner.
The weird thing is
Talk
that
about him next week.
the weird thing about him is Sogard. They signed Sogard. Sogard's playing. He's hitting pretty well. I think Nico Horner is the guy that the Cubs need, but he might play a little less because of the existence of the guy named Eric Sogard. But the one thing going for him is he's a great fielder, and the way their pitching staff looks, they need great fielding. Anyway, that's it, real quick.
Yeah, Andy, I had one more. You had it on your briefing chart. Duvall.
Yes, Duvall.
You think he's going to pop a few out of the Marlins ballpark?
Maybe not the Marlins ballpark, but he's going to get you a bad batting average. He's going to hit. He'll probably hit 25 to 30 home runs because that's what he does. He's really inexpensive. He's going to play every day. We know that.
You get him for nothing.
His batting average is not great, but it's totally worth what you have to pay for him. I think he's a great late round target. If you're
I'm comfortable picking Duvall as my fifth outfielder, unlike Bedu.
And that's like in the round 28 right now. But he has been moving up the ADP a little bit, so watch out.
See, he's a classic combination with Nick Madrigal, right?
Yeah, he'd be perfect to even each other out. That would be perfect.
So is it going to be Garrett at first base or Aguilar?
I think it's Aguilar, dude. I really don't think it's much of a competition right now, but
Aguilar looks good. He's lost weight. I saw him. He looked good. Physically, he looked good.
But everybody that talks to me tells me that it's still that they might split time at first base.
But they're both right-handed hitters, Andy.
I don't know.
I don't get
the outfield. I know from reading relatively local papers that they still like Cooper. Cooper did play a lot of outfield in the past.
You can go, Malpal. You can go.
Okay, I gotta go. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Malpal. Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Hey.
Okay, good night.
Now it's only three.
I don't know.
Who are their outfielders right now? It's like they signed. I guess Corey Dickerson's one. Didn't they sign somebody?
Let me check it out.
I know there was talk last year about Villar playing there.
No, Villar's with the Mets.
I know, but last year, like they were screwing around the outfield is what I'm getting at.
Charlie Marte is one, and then Duvall.
Marte Duvall.
Marte will be in center field, and
is probably the right fielder. So
Garrett Cooper is a righty.
Cooper doesn't find, yeah.
I didn't see any splits really with Aguilar, so I can't imagine. And I understand, but sometimes people hit reverse splits, and it just doesn't show me that Cooper has any real splits either. But he's okay. It's so weird. In 2019, he hit 220 against lefties. Okay, 2020 though, he hit 324 against lefties, which is
but I mean, it's a short season. He might have only faced like 30 at bats versus lefties or something.
Okay, but he didn't have a problem hitting them last year. The year before that, he hit in 2018, he hit 429 against lefties. Okay, and this is a small sample size. And he hit 150 against righties. And then it was reverse. And then again, another short season last year. It was not really bad either side. Basically the last 3 years, he's averaged 253 against lefties and 287 against righties. So he doesn't have a problem either. Is he going to hit? He's not going to hit nearly as much power as Aguilar will hit, in my opinion. And I don't see any reason why. I wish he played another spot they could put him.
Yeah, they I mean, they have a lot of maybe slightly above average players, the average players, and not enough spots for them. Like, there's nobody there that makes you go, that guy is awesome, but there's guys you like a little bit. Brian Anderson a little bit. I guess Marte is a real player, sure. But, yeah, there's just not enough space for everybody.
Garrett Cooper plays left, right, and first base, and Aguilar plays just first base. And
I would play Cooper in left field ahead of Duvall if it were me.
It sucks at the DH. Otherwise, they would all get to play because, What do you think of Sixto Sanchez? I just got him for $1 and NL only.
You
As
got a steal.
Yeah, that's fine that's great at $1
It
actually.
doesn't get any better.
Is that cheap?
for 3 players. I have
Somebody was sound asleep at the wheel.
I got Gausman, Alcantara, and Sixto Sanchez for $4.
That's
Somebody was asleep at the wheel.
No, it was teams that left. So, it was teams that left. All the teams that left from last year, they throw all of the players into a.
Oh, I see.
And you can only keep players that cost less than $10. So it's kind of amazing that these players went for less than that. They were all $1. Okay, they were $1. So I don't know what that means.
You can't beat that.
In a keeper league, why is Sixto Sanchez $1?
Because
there's some parameters of the league they understand.
He was a minor leaguer probably.
But you get to
somebody probably got him on a fab bet or something for $1 when nobody heard of him. And when the Phillies traded him, they said it was going to be a mistake. But didn't they get Real Muto?
I think Sixto Sanchez.
That was in the Real Muto trade.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Real Muto's injured, so stay away from him.
Okay.
Randall is injured too. Stay away from him. All the top catchers are injured. Plus, Will Smith is a great catcher, but he is splitting time with Austin.
Because
Vaughn.
Barnes is better on defense.
Barnes better at defense.
Yeah,
That's the one thing about I looked closely. You're talking about Austin Nola. And Austin Nola's defense in the short season last year was actually remarkably good, which was the big question about him.
he would
So-
be. I mean, he hit too, right? Didn't he hit?
Well, he hit pretty well, but it's like he is. I thought that when they got Victor Caratini, that Caratini's defense was much better than Nola's. Though Caratini's defense is better than Nola's, but based on the 60 games of last year, not the games in Seattle the year before, it wasn't significantly better. It's like on the list of all the pitch framers, Caratini was ahead of Nola, but Nola was only 2 spots beneath him. You know, and their rate on strikeout was exactly the same. Admittedly, Caratini has over his career thrown out an extra 100 batters than he did. So I was a little worried about Nola. I thought he was going to be a little bust pick, but he's hurt.
Let me tell you a secret catcher to get in your drafts that nobody wants to get because he's not that. I mean, first of all, he's the best defensive catcher in baseball, and there is absolutely nobody is taking his job. He plays catcher every day. So no matter what he does offensively, he is going to have more job security than any other catcher in baseball. That's a guarantee. Last year, he hit horrible. He hit 165 last year, but the year before that, in 2019, he hit 24 home runs. He is absolutely capable of hitting 20 home runs this year, and he will get to play every day, and his name is, guess who it is?
Zunino.
No. Zunino's fucking, no.
He's a pretty, who's the guy who's a really good catcher who hits a lot of home runs, but really good fielder?
Roberto Perez is who I'm talking about. And
Navarez?
Roberto Perez is who is the best defensive catcher in baseball. The Cleveland Indians pitchers love him. And he did hit 24 home runs in 2019. Last year he stunk. He didn't hit good at all.
All right. I'll give you my sleeper catcher.
Yeah.
Who's my sleeper catcher?
Jan Gomes.
Alejandro Kirk.
That's not a sleeper anymore.
I like Elias Diaz.
Okay. He's having a good spring.
And the Colorado catchers are always
I like Jan Gomes and Wilson Ramos. Those are my targets for catching.
Yeah, the Ramos the idea is like him.
He can't catch a cold.
No, he's not a bad fielding catcher, but he's never really had any experience guiding pitchers.
Behind him, right in Port Charlotte, the Maine can't block a ball in the dirt. He can't throw a runner out. He's awful on defense.
Okay, but I don't care though.
He can hit. That dude can hit, and that's all we care about.
I mean, the lesson of Will Smith of the Dodgers is that you have to have some level of defense to stay in a lineup.
Yeah.
Mitch Garver is going to be sharing time with Kirk. I think who's that is? Kirk.
No, Garver is
Williams.
Jeffers, yeah.
Williams Estilo or whatever.
Toronto is going to be. Wait, no.
Kirk plays for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and the scary thing about Kirk is that he might get sent down because he does have options, whereas the other guys don't.
Right.
Reese McGuire and Jansen don't.
Right. So that could be something to look at in case whatever catcher you do decide to get just fails, because he will come up later. But I mean, I really like James McCann or Travis.
I like James McCann.
I'm just not going to spend.
I'm not going to spend the kind of money you need for DR Note. He's going for $15-18.
Who?
D'Arnaud.
Oh, do you know? Yeah, he's going a lot higher than I thought he would.
He's
There's reason for it.
not a Met.
He's turned into a home run hitter.
Yeah, he's turned into a good hitter. What about this Christian Vasquez? Wait, who's
Christian Vasquez is the Red Sox. He seems to be like in leagues that I'm in. He seems to be like the last of what I would call the quote unquote
top tier
decent catchers. Yeah, top tier. It's the top tier, but the top tier is like a C tier.
Yeah,
it's like, and I let him fly, and I usually wind up going for even cheaper guys like Tom Murphy, Elias Diaz, Dom Nunez, Victor Caratini. I throw Campusano in that mix now because he could run away with it in there.
what
Even though
about
he sells all those drugs. And did you hear about my Cubs guy? There was a Jesus Camacho who got caught with 21 pounds of methamphetamines.
I did hear about that.
what? Why so much methamphetamine? Jesus,
Because methamphetamines are that good. No, I don't know why.
21 pounds? Dude, that will last him like his whole life.
Confessions here.
It's just for personal use.
Is he a minor leaguer?
He's a minor leaguer, yeah. His name is Jesus Camargo.
Maybe they should pay their minor leaguers to a living wage, and then they
They
would.
don't have to.
Yeah, it's like, I want to play baseball,
So
but
they
I don't have the money. And it's
expensive.
like, well, what are you watching on TV? I'm watching Breaking Bad. It's like, that's it. That's how I'll make it.
Great idea, right? Can you imagine getting like your ideas from watching Breaking Bad? Like, oh, that's
That'd be
a really
bad.
good idea. I think I'll try that.
Yeah, that's how I'll make ends meet.
Well, we ready to call it a night?
Yeah, that's good. We have a little fun.
Okay, you guys, we'll
See,
see.
in the
You.
draft, I'm still on deck, so I'll pick relatively quickly when this guy's done.
Who are you gonna take? I have in my queue. I have.
I have two guys on my queue: Yu Darvish and Francisco Lindor.
Okay.
Be one of those two.
I don't have either of those in my queue. I better get rid of Zach Gallen out of my queue. That's a problem.
Yeah, we better worry about him.
I'd rather have Yu Darvish, but if he picks him, because I think that pitchers are worth something a little more in these kind of best ball leagues. You know, well, I mean, basically because you only really get 4 starters. You kind of want 4 good starting pitchers, and then you'll worry about the filling in later. You know, because you want like your core to be pretty darn good.
It's pick 21 right now, and 7 pitchers have gone off the board. I think 7 or 6.
That's not much at 101.
No, 21. It's
Yeah,
pick-
we're only pick 21.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
so a third are pitchers. That's a little.
That's a lot. Yeah.
You know, so that's why I prefer to get Darvish, but I'd perfectly settle for. It also, it's a points league too, so pitchers become a little higher on points. So yeah, I really want Darvish now.
Doug, you get to pick twice coming up soon. Me and you are picking soon.
How about this weird thing? This is my 5th league that I'm in, right? And now the TGFI was a Kentucky Derby style, but every league had a random thing, and I've picked 3rd in every draft this year.
Then you're good at it, right? You're good at it.
I'm very comfortable drafting 3rd after doing it so many times. But what's the odds on that? On these random drafts, me always getting 3rd? I don't know.
I like Nola Arenado, dude. He's proven this spring that he is not hurt anymore. And no, he may not hit the same way he did in Colorado, but he is going to hit in St. Louis. I do think he might be worth his draft position.
I'm not going to draft Arenado. I worry about
Bregman, right? You would draft Bregman?
I'm kind of out on Bregman too, but I would draft Bregman. I would draft Bregman and Arenado in the same vicinity, but Arenado probably ahead.
Okay.
But basically, I see those guys as like 3rd round draft choices, 4th round draft choices. You know, and the other thing about it at third base is that there are 3 third basemen that I like a lot that are going very late. Well, 4 if you count Suarez. Like I like Suarez, I like Bryant, I like Donaldson, and I like Turner. And so it's one of those things where like I feel pretty comfortable in a draft pushing off my 3rd baseman because I actually think that game for game Turner is probably the best of all those 3rd basemen, but he'll only play 122 games. So you kind of have to have something there to fill in the blank on the other side. But there's like that quality deep at 3rd makes me, quicker to push off 3rd base than to say push off of 2nd base or shortstop or 1st base. Like you might be faced with a situation in the 3rd round where you can draft Arenado or a Brew, right? And I would probably take a Brew because of the nature of the difference of the positions.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, we're out of here. We'll see you next week. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.